Hi everybody, it's Joe Cioffi here on this Wednesday, May 16th, 2018 at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. I was not able to do my regular live stream yesterday. I was spending some time with my new little grandson that arrived last Friday, so the last few days have been a bit on the hectic side. I also I missed out on the severe weather, or at least the weather video part of broadcasting severe weather, which would have been live, but you know, that's just kind of the way it is. And this severe weather outbreak that we did have in my neck of the woods yesterday was one of the strongest severe weather outbreaks that I've seen here in many years. We had two tornadoes confirmed, including an EF2 tornado in Putnam County in the Hudson Valley. Macro burst damage being reported in parts of Connecticut. They're still surveying a lot of the damage, so it was really just absolutely incredible. I did manage to do a live stream from the middle of Jersey City yesterday, where I was basically surrounded by buildings, so you really couldn't see very much, but you could tell by the turbulent sky condition that that was some incredible line of storms that moved on through here. And by the way, it did also create apparently what's being referred to as a meteo tsunami, where the changes in pressure by the squall line were so drastic that it actually caused a 1-foot tidal surge along the New Jersey shore on yesterday, last night, and into this morning. And we actually still have some coastal flooding issues over parts of Long Island Sound. So that's something I've never really ever seen before, or at least if it's happened, it hasn't been reported. But apparently this squall line was so intense and the pressure changes so large that it was able to generate a tidal surge of about 1 foot, according to reports that I saw from the National Weather Service. So let's move that ahead. Raymond is asking the question if I would refer to that as a derecho. I have not seen anyone, at least from the Weather Service's standpoint and from what I've read so far today, that anyone is actually referring it to as a derecho, a very intense line of storms that comes through and oftentimes produces winds. I mean, it does produce winds in excess of 60-70 miles an hour or more. These are particularly strong thunderstorms that did actually run through, I believe it was a derecho on Monday. It was a little bit out of the loop that ran through parts of Northern Virginia and toward the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. But I'm still kind of digging around and talking to a few people regarding to what happened yesterday. But looking ahead to today, we are seeing a few things going on that I want to point out. And I brought up the U.S. satellite view here that's off to my left there, right there. This is the eastern U.S. satellite view. And if you look, you know, one of the things about this new GOES 16 is that you can actually see the layers of the clouds very well, which is extremely helpful. And if you look closely, you can see the curvature of the clouds as we deal with this trough that has taken shape across the lower Gulf states. And I'm going to just kind of draw the trough in right in here. It's like this, and as a result, you're seeing, you know, moisture flow that's coming out of the Caribbean and moving across Florida and up the eastern seaboard. So the outcome is a very large area of moisture and rain, and unfortunately, this trough is not moving very much. It's kind of hanging here. You have the northern part of the jet stream moving across southern Canada, but it's not far enough south to really have any kind of impact with the trough that is to the south. And as a result, that trough just kind of gets left behind here until something can come down and either pick it up or kick it out. But that is going to be a tough sell. So we may wind up seeing, this trail of moisture coming up from the south, pretty much through certainly the rest of this week and into this weekend. Maybe at some point next week we could see this pattern relax a little bit, but it is going to be a very, very tough sell indeed. Now, we do have some rain going on at the moment, and we'll bring up the Eastern radar view here. This is as of 6 o'clock Eastern time, and we've been getting rain in my area all afternoon, and it hasn't been especially heavy. It's just been sort of a steady, continuous rain. If you look down in Virginia and into North Carolina, there we're seeing some heavier downpours and some strong thunderstorms that have developed this evening. They're in the warm tropical air. We still have this frontal boundary that's sitting around and just keeps buckling back and forth, back and forth. So as every time it buckles, we get a little wave to go by, and that brings through some rain. This first band that's over New Jersey, Long Island, and the Hudson Valley and southern Connecticut, as that moves out this evening, there'll be a second band that moves in later tonight into tomorrow morning. There's no real severe weather threat in the east, other than the potential for some isolated severe thunderstorms that might pop up. And I'll bring you the Storm Prediction Center's map just to show you what they consider their risk areas today. And they don't even really have, even though there are some very heavy thunderstorms going on in parts of Virginia, North and South Carolina, all the way down to Florida, I think the biggest problem with these thunderstorms is that we are seeing some heavy rains with them. Where we do have the risk for some severe weather, a small area in parts of Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, northeast Texas, and also back into west Texas, and also through an area in northwestern Nevada, northeastern California, where there's a marginal risk of severe weather indicated. And as far as tomorrow is concerned, we'll bring up tomorrow's Storm Prediction Center map. And that is for the 17th through the 18th, a general area of thunderstorms in the mid-Atlantic and down through Florida, but the risk area tomorrow is a marginal risk from North Texas and western Oklahoma on up through the western plains, with a slight risk indicated northeastern Colorado, western Nebraska, and a small portion of eastern Wyoming, southwestern South Dakota. So at least the severe weather angle with what we've been experiencing here in the eastern part of the U.S. is taking a bit of a break. And now we can move on to where this is all going over the next day or two, or 3 or 4 as we go into the weekend. We do have the Preakness this weekend, as Anthony Orr points out, and I think, yeah, there probably will be the chance for some showers or a thunderstorm for the Preakness, but whether they materialize or not remains to be seen. We'll take a look at what the weather models have to tell us here as we look at the full U.S. view. You can see the GFS's kind of wet picture in the eastern part of the United States for tonight, and you've got some action that's coming into the west, which is responsible for that severe weather risk there. The ridge off the east coast, the upper high off the east coast, just kind of remains in place. So we're going to see more moisture come up, but during the day on Thursday, that front sags back south again, and you wind up with an onshore flow and a high that comes into southeastern Canada. So that's going to bring in a chilly flow off the ocean, and here comes some more rain that comes up the coast for Friday night into Saturday. And as we look at Saturday evening, we're seeing the possibility of some showers and thunderstorms. You can see the bright yellow area centered pretty much right over Baltimore, or not too far from Baltimore. I'll bring up a closer view here in a second. We also have some action on Saturday over the weekend with what looks like another developing low out in the Central Plains, and then that moves eastward. Sunday, I think we may catch a bit of a break, although I think a cold front comes through with a chance for thunderstorms late in the day for my neck of the woods. You still see that run of moisture down through the South Atlantic states and down into Florida. And then as we move into next week, more action to deal with as weather systems continue to move along. The upper pattern with the ridge off the east coast is problematic here. And here you see it. If you, you know, I will, I think what I'll do is let me make a copy of this, and we can, I'll do a little drawing for you. So just give me 1 second here. I hope those of you, by the way, who were living in severe weatherland yesterday came through okay with everything, because it really was a rather incredible round of severe weather that we had to deal with. I'm going to jump to Saturday here and put this map up here for you. So here's the upper air, and I'll bring up the window so you can see it better. Just give me half a second. All right, so here we go. There's here's the upper air for Saturday, and you see the high. You've got this big upper high. I'm going to outline the edge of the ridge in blue, and it's right here. So here's your upper flow. It basically, your upper air winds are coming off the Atlantic from the Bahamas right up the coast, and you've got a south-southwest flow that continues as you go west from there. That is going to eventually at least try to get this front to buckle back northward. You also have some shortwave troughs along the way here that are coming along in the flow. You've got one in the northern jet. See, the problem here is that northern jet stream is too far to the north. The bottom part of that jet is just about across right in here, okay? At this point, the argument would be that the frontal boundary is going to try and shift northward. I'm just looking at where the jet stream is aloft. The surface is going to be a little bit different as far as the frontal boundary is concerned. But if you don't get that northern jet to come down, this northern jet stream really needs to do something like this and get down here and just kind of kick all this stuff out of the way, flatten up this ridge, or at least force it to go out to the east. And we don't really see any signs of that happening. So until we get a really decisive change in that pattern, it's going to be one where we're going to continue to see these opportunities for rain and thunderstorms from time to time. So once again, just to run forward, I can now, I think we'll jump over to the eastern part of the U.S. So we're going into Friday here. So once, by the way, once in my area, once we get through whatever rain we have overnight into early tomorrow, we're probably going to catch a bit of a break into later Thursday afternoon into Friday. And then here comes more rain for Friday into Saturday. That warm front's going to try and move northward through here Saturday night and Sunday. Sunday could be a very warm day, and I think there's a chance that we could see some thunderstorm activity when the weather front eventually attempts to move on through here Sunday afternoon. And you see it right there. It does bubble up some shower and thunderstorm activity. Whether those storms become strong or not, I guess, will depend on how much sun we can get and if we could take temperatures up into the 80s, which is not out of the question. And then again, as we go into next week, it's really more of the same. The upper ridge is going to still be there, but as we move through next week, you'll notice that the flow does become a little more westerly across the Northeast and into the northern mid-Atlantic states. So that might allow, at the very least, it'll get weather systems to move along, and maybe we could see some drier conditions. In fact, the flow does become more northwest later next week. So that could, at least for the time being, put an end to this constant flow, this southerly flow aloft, and this constant stream of moisture. It doesn't necessarily put an end to the threat for some showers and thunderstorms from time to time, because there are going to be shortwave troughs and weather fronts that'll be moving through in the flow. But at least as far as being continuously in the soup, well, that is perhaps where we could see the more significant change here. Here's the surface map for Tuesday as the next low in front come through here Tuesday night into early Wednesday. And you can see that the tropical moisture from off the Atlantic getting suppressed a bit more to the south as we move through the latter part of next week and into the following weekend. And yes, once again, and this has been an ongoing problem, I did speak to somebody about this, that I was asking him, why is it that the GFS keeps putting up tropical systems in the 11 to 16 day time frame, and he spoke about the fact that the resolution of the GFS, the horizontal resolution of the GFS, is what is the dominating feature after day 10, and perhaps that's the reason why the GFS is consistently showing these tropical systems in the 10 to 16 day time frame. But the problem is, from the standpoint of trying to get some reliability in the models, they never come inside that 10-day period. So again, it's going to continue to do this, and we are going to continue to view that with the utmost suspicion. William Uber, thank you for hitting Super Chat tonight. Really appreciate it. And thank you very much, by the way, for coming out to Smithtown, the Smithtown Library on Monday, where I had my latest talk. It was really good to see you there again. And thank you. And also thank you for Salem Surveying for hitting Super Chat tonight. Really, really appreciate it. And yes, those thunderstorms and the severe weather in the Hudson Valley, 2 lives were lost, sadly. And this is, the run of severe weather in my area of the Northeast over the last few years. We have seen it. It has been kind of on a downswing, and we talked about the fact that there apparently is some kind of 5-year cycle, according to some research that's been done recently, and we may have hit the bottom of that 5-year cycle and are beginning to swing back upward, so that we could be in a bit of a long-term increase in the amount of thunderstorms that we see in my area, which is basically from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. So, if yesterday was any indication, that upcycle may be in play, may be starting. So we're going to continue to watch to see whether this is a trend that's going to go on as we go through the rest of this month and into and through the month of June. And the temperature box 505 yesterday did do a big drop of 15 degrees in an hour. And I was in Jersey City, which is just west of New York City on the other side of the Hudson. And I can attest to the fact that the temperatures definitely dropped at least 15, if not 20 degrees when those thunderstorms came roaring through. Iron Mine 10, there was a wind field first yesterday's squall line, dark clouds. 15 minutes later, thunderstorms. I think that means that thunderstorms may have been weakening over southern Nassau. Yes, those storms did weaken as they moved across Long Island. The marine layer was pretty tough over Suffolk County. Took all day for it to get out of the way. Temperatures did manage to rise up into the mid-70s, in some places into the mid-70s by late afternoon east of you, but it might have been, I guess, too little too late as far as the daytime heating is concerned, fortunately. And it's a good thing, given the strength of I mean, those thunderstorms yesterday late afternoon, in terms of how impressive they were on the radar, they were absolutely vicious. I mean, they were clearly vicious, and judging by some of the damage and the videos that I saw and the pictures, just incredible what was produced. Just trying to see here. Yeah, Bach 505. You basically, when you start to see those pop-ups, especially as you get into the summer months, particularly in later July and August, that's when you get some pretty interesting lightning and thunder displays over eastern Long Island, and particularly just off the coast. Yeah, but this time of year, unless you've got a setup that really completely cuts off the marine influence, you're going to see those storms tend to fall apart. And I did see, Raymond, I did see Andrew's live stream. I actually shared it on my Facebook page last night. So yes, Andrew did have it covered. I just was not in a position yesterday to do any kind of live stream off the computer so that we could have, looked at the radars and the satellites as everything transpired. The soup, What I'm referring to, the soup, AMD Ryzen fan, if you're in right now, if you're in New Jersey, Long Island, or New York City, you've got a northeast wind with a lot of low clouds and rain and fog. That's what I call soup for this time of year. And it's definitely soupy out there. And we'll get a break from that tomorrow, but we're probably going to go back into that on Friday. Dapper Manatee, based on current patterns, any threat for severe weather throughout the Great Lakes over the next few weeks? I mean, I think there might be the odd frontal system that might go by where the setup is good, but I think the main factor right now is the fact that that northern jet is still too far to the north. That does change later next week, so maybe that'll bring opportunities for weather fronts to move on through, but I don't know. I'm not too keen on trying to, take a stab at the possibility of whether we're going to see severe weather in the Great Lakes going into the longer term. I mean, I suppose, I'm just kind of looking real quick at the GFS off screen here, and certainly next week I can't see how it would happen. We may have to wait till after Memorial Day, some indication of some kind of front dropping down at that point, but. Yeah, right now I don't see a whole lot of severe weather activity for the Great Lakes region going forward. That might change as we get past the 6 or 7 day time frame, but right now I would say low chance. Tropical low coming up the coast. Yeah, Dio Nankumar, as I said, with the GFS and this constant every single day showing a tropical system in the day 11 to 16 time frame, I think it's a really highly unreliable model from that respect. There are probably some things going on that in the actual structure of the GFS model itself that's causing this to happen. It's just kind of like last year, if I remember, that there was a period of time where some of the models were just generating Category 5 hurricanes at will. Now, granted, we did have 3 of them, but I seem to recall that they did go through a period where they were basically spinning up everything and making them all Category 5s. It might be a similar structural problem. I do know that the National Hurricane Center is actually aware of this and has spoken about it, at least internally. So I'm sure it's something that they're looking at and hoping that it winds up being corrected at some point. The SBC Raymond almost issued a high risk. One of my friends that I talked to said that the tornado risk had been a little bit higher. Well, I mean, considering what happened, you almost wonder whether they should have had a high risk of severe. But you know what? High risk in this area doesn't happen too often. That's a scary prospect to have that up there. They did put it up to moderate risk yesterday afternoon, which, in lieu of what the satellites and radars were showing, not a surprise. And by the way, the HRRR model yesterday did I was not able to look at it too closely, but I talked to a few people that did work with it yesterday, and they said it did an absolutely spectacular job. The NAM 2 days ago, with the storms that moved through Virginia and Maryland on Monday, did an awful job with those. It barely even acknowledged that they existed. But the HRRR seems to be working right now when it comes to the mesoscale thunderstorm activity. So it is certainly one of the models, if not the model, that we're going to pay a lot of attention to going forward with any future severe weather outbreaks that we see in the coming weeks. Okay, I'm gonna have to leave it right here at this point. So thanks for being here tonight. We're back to kind of a normal schedule here for the rest of this week. So we'll have our usual 6 o'clock live streams, and 9:15 tonight. You can join me and Joe Rayo and I on my Facebook page, meteorologist Joe Cioffi, for the Joe and Joe show. That'll be at 9:15. And I will upload a replay onto my video library once it's done, and you can take a look at that on my video library right here on my YouTube channel later on tonight. I just want to mention just really fast, thank you again for those of you, Salem Surveying, William Huber, thank you so much for hitting Super Chat tonight. Really, really appreciate it. And you can also support my channel by, if you shop on Amazon, you can use the Amazon link that's on the descriptor of this live stream and on this video. We're a participant in the Amazon Services Associates program, which is an affiliate advertising program designed to provide a means for my channel to earn some fees by linking to Amazon.com and their affiliated sites. In other words, if you shop on Amazon and you buy your stuff, Amazon sends me a commission, which is really nice. Doesn't cost you a dime. You get your stuff, and I can, be able to maybe continue to expand what I'm doing. My plan one day is to, just be doing this all the time, which would be really, really good. But that's one day down the road. Keep your fingers crossed that maybe I'll get there sooner rather than later. Okay, folks, have a great rest of your evening. Facebook at 9:15. And otherwise, look for the replay on YouTube a little later on tonight, and of the Joe and Joe Show. And, of course, back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Eastern Time.